Number 49 in the Radiance range is Tony Arzenta, otherwise known as Big Guns, from 1973, directed by Duccio Tessari, the man who did The Bloodstained Butterfly, a couple of the Ringo movies, Death Occurred Last Night, which was a partner label release from Radiance. This one has Alan Dillon as the titular character, a mob enforcer who sees his family as his main priority, and as such has decided that after a quick job at the start, where you see his lethal efficiency, decides to take a step back.
Il tuo cacciatore è stanco di sparare ai piccioni. No, Nick, non c'è niente da ridere. Stavolta smetto.
It's time to focus on what's important to him, and what's important to him is his family. So he tells his bosses he wants to retire. These gentlemen who are of sound mind, who are practical, who don't rush to decisions, sit down and say absolutely not, the best thing to do is to blow him up and get rid of him. Best laid plans don't always go the way they should, and when Tony's family ends up the victims of this car bombing, there's only one thing Tony can do, and that is brutally kill everyone involved with this operation. One man laying the law down. This is a 70s Policia techie type version of John Wick. Alan Delon, playing the assassin, is looking for vengeance, who's looking to kind of make amends, who's looking to right all the wrongs that have been put upon him. All he wanted was a way out. He's been a loyal employee for these men, and now is out for blood. And you get many vicious sequences within this as Tony attacks people with a kind of rampant neglect for himself and an urgency to inflict violence quickly, practically. That is rather shocking. It is almost perfunctory, the way the violence is displayed in this one. It is a matter of life here. It's just the way they go about things.
Ehi, Dio un po', ma tu...
But it just feels very natural. It doesn't feel overly flamboyant. There's not slow motion, blood spurting in a dramatic fashion. It is quick, impactful, and he is gone as quick as he can possibly be, which I really kind of liked, that realistic nature to it, where it doesn't feel a need to over punctuate what's just happened. This man is simply going about tasks. He's so desensitized to this world that is just another job, another task that needs to be crossed off his list. And there's something kind of terrifying about the idea of that, someone that can live his life just doing that kind of thing. You get some great actors in here as well. Richard Conte turns up in a role, but my favourite had to be Rosalba Neri, who appears out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting her, and I just looked up at one point and I was like, oh, well, hello there.
Prima di giorno voglio vederlo galleggiare in una fogna. Aspetta.
She's in there as one of the gangster's wives at some point, and it was such a joy just to see her. She's one of my favourite Italian actresses, and yeah, it just kind of made me all the more enamoured by this film. The thing with Tony Arzenta I found was it drags a little bit in the middle of the movie, getting a little bogged down with all the politics and between the different factions in this one, between the different groups as he's travelling through different countries. It became a little bit muddled and lost that through line that it had, the focus that it had. And all the way through this one, I kind of grew to enjoy the character. I grew to enjoy a female character that he picks up throughout this one, who he kind of tries to rehabilitate and help throughout it. But all the way through it, I had this dread in my stomach that I knew where this story was going, because it felt as if it was following some tropes to other movies that I've seen done before. I could only hope that it wasn't going to take that avenue, which I won't talk about here, because hey, we're not going to talk about the end of the movie if you haven't seen it. Alain Delon was fantastic as this character who is heartbroken, but is a very practical man, a very stoic man, a man who doesn't over-emote or flash out, strike out or shout or scream. It's all insular, and he keeps that in a very controlled and measured performance, which I love. Now, I love seeing the 70s Italy as we go through many locations where you get to see all the clothes and the streets and the people and the decor. All that kind of stuff is great, and you go through all these different kinds of sets, and I thought the production standards were wonderful. It was something that just kept me interested, and the score I thought was particularly great in this one as well. The only thing about it is it feels very typical, and it could be that a lot of films that came after this kind of follow the tropes. The tropes are a reason. The tropes are tropes for a reason, and it just feels like it's ticking these off and hitting all those kind of familiar beats, and yet you never really get much in the form of surprises. Many cool sequences of Tony doing what he does best, which kept me entertained, but no surprises to speak of as such. Let's dive into the disc and have a look at the extras on this one. Here we are in the disc for Tony Arzenta. Let's go to the special features. First up, we have Alain Delon. This is an archival interview where Alain Delon talks about his role as producer and his acting work and collaborators. Originally broadcast September 1973. And this runs at 12 minutes 8 seconds. Kind of starts off with an overview of the man as he's kind of walking his dogs, then goes into an interview about him becoming a producer, working on a couple of films at the time, and it's a fairly interesting piece. Next, Mike Malloy. In this newly produced featurette, filmmaker Mike Malloy looks at the trends of crime films of the era and Tony Arzenta's place within it, produced for Radiance Films in December 2023. It's 11 minutes and 13 seconds out. Now, personally, I love Mike Malloy's stuff. I think he's always a great addition. And here he looks at police shootouts and how, for the majority of the time, it's about a cop or a criminal. But there is a small batch of films in amongst here that has a different kind of protagonist. And he kind of focuses on that aspect of police shootouts, which is just fascinating. Then we have scene-specific commentary by Peter Hilmstad. Now, this is over several scenes. It totals 53 minutes, 29 seconds. He just kind of breaks down. I, for one, kind of like these specific commentaries because they feel a little bit more pertinent. The information is always delivered really well, and it feels concise, and it doesn't feel padded out. And this is some interesting observations here. And then we have the trailer. Also included in this edition is a 20-page booklet, and it has the fantastic essay Beautiful but Dangerous, the crime thrillers of Alain Delon, which is wonderful. It's a fantastic essay. It's the only one in this booklet, but it is worth a read, absolutely. And that is the extras for Tony Arzenta. There we have it. Tony Arzenta from Radiance. I really enjoyed this one. It ticked all the boxes for me. I'm really becoming quite fascinated with Tessari as a director because he does typical kind of movies, but puts his own little spin on them, but I'm really kind of enjoying. He's definitely got his own mark that he puts into these films that could just be another cookie cutter, carbon copy of similar films that are going on. Add something just a little bit different, which I really kind of appreciate in his films. I'd love to know what you think of Tony Arzenta. Let me know in the comment box below whether you love it, hate it, feel somewhere in the middle. Is it forgettable? Let me know and tell me why, so we can have a little chit chat about this one. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box below are links to Patreon, membership program, and manvfilm.com. Always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.